Mary Barra, who I'm friendly with, asked me about, I don't know, a year ago, could I fix her up with Elon? Not a date, but to fix her up. And I said, sure, I'll set it up. And they went to Allen and Company conference, and they met. And she hadn't met before. And then afterwards, then I saw her on your program, and she quoted and she said, oh yeah, Elon, we text all the time.
Right.
We text all the time. And the reason that's important is that the reason they do this with the charging as well, the reason they're doing all that is because Tesla doesn't want to put other guys out of business. They're going to be his customers. Those people will make the metal, ultimately, for a lot of cars, and he will supply the guts, like Intel inside of a computer. That's going to be Tesla inside of cars. That's going to be an amazing business for them. When I went to a dinner in East Hampton about 2-3 weeks ago, when David Rubenstein was interviewing Walter, and they sat me at the table with Walter right next to the stage, and then David interviewed him, and then they mentioned me 3 or 4 times in that, and then afterwards he said, you know, Ron, the guy knows more than anyone else here about him. Why don't you say something? And I said, I can't say something. This is your show, and this is I'm not part of that. And
but you're here now, so what would you say?
Well, one fast story is, I agree with Walter. He has to be, untethered. And then in addition to that, when he was a child, he talked about all the problems he had with his dad. And he escaped from those. He would go home and he would read the encyclopedia. Read the encyclopedia. That was his nickname from his mom, encyclopedia. And any question he knew it. So he had a photographic memory. And what amazes me about him now is every time you ask him, how do you do that? How do you know that? How do you know what these things cost? He knows everything. It's a photographic memory. He remembers stuff. And so he's focused on cost, trying to drive cost out of everything. Everyone else tries to make as much money as they can. He's focused on his mission, long term, which is to make planet habitable, and then also to, if something bad happens, to be able to keep humanity alive.
Elon Musk has been disrupting several markets, be it automotive, spaceship, or AI. It's difficult to ignore the many incredible things that the Tesla CEO has achieved over the years, and even more difficult to ignore what he is going to do in the future. Today, Ron Barron unveils a key part of Tesla's success, and a strategy that many investors have ignored over the years.
So he's the lowest cost person. Everything about the business is trying to drive prices lower. Right now, they will be in a very... In the 1900s, early 1900s, the automobile companies were tremendous innovators. No longer is the case. In the 1950s, they decided they were going to go for profitability, and they outsourced all of their supply chain to their detriment. And all these companies went bankrupt. Hundreds of them went bankrupt. And now the way we're going is that their electric cars, they drive, I guess they have about 30 miles a day, 30 or 40 miles a day, and they have 3 million of them that are collecting data. 100 million miles a day they're getting for data, and then they're also getting compute that they're going to have more compute than anyone in the world in 18 months to train it.
Have you been surprised, and this is true of the other EV makers, a lot of EV makers have put up big goals in terms of sales, and then they've scaled those goals back, saying there's just not the customer demand. Do you think that is the responsibility or a function of the products that these other automakers are putting out? Or do you think that there actually isn't the demand for EVs writ large that maybe was anticipated or expected?
There's 1.5 billion cars that have to get replaced. They do about 80 million cars a year, and a small percentage of those, 10%, are electric right now. Ultimately, it's going to be all electric. But the reason there's not more demand is the cars that are out there are not very attractive by the dealers, by the car companies, and they're expensive. Number two, and then in addition to that, the dealers who sell them, they don't want to sell them because there's nothing to service. The dealers make all their money on servicing. So dealers sell them, they're not selling them.
You talked about trying to bring prices down, and that's something that Elon Musk has talked a lot about. At the same time that he's going to try to bring prices down, you have the potential for Tesla to become a target of the UAW, which of course just made this new deal with the other big automakers at meaningfully higher prices in terms of what those employees are going to be getting. What do you think about that?
I think Tesla's employees are the highest paid workers in the world.
Traditionally, car companies have been like bakers, meticulously adding each ingredient one by one. However, Tesla is throwing a whole different kind of car baking party. Now, this is what we're trying to say right here. While other EV makers are slowing down with their EV production, Tesla, more like the inventors of the giant cupcake pan, are churning out batches of EVs in a way that's bringing down costs. The automaker plans to produce and sell affordable EVs in a way that no one else can. So how exactly are they pulling it off? And why is Tesla able to make its cars affordable? And will this be a big deal for the automaker? Well, keep watching as we show you the details.
Here in China, 1 out of every 3 cars sold is an EV. The biggest sellers are BYD, Tesla, and state-owned GAC. BYD had the 5 most popular battery and plug-in hybrids last year, with prices ranging from $16,000 to $30,000. Tesla is still on top on the high end, with its bestseller, the Model Y, at $37,000 to $50,000. The ranges of the BYDs are around 250 to 375 miles, the Model Y in the 340 range. EVs appeal to China's wealthy, tech-savvy, and environmentally conscious, but increasingly to those on a budget, after years of government subsidies promoted production and infrastructure. The government's ratio of EVs to charging points is around 2.5 to 1, with economically developed provinces and cities like Beijing and Shanghai most equipped. Now over to Arabile Gumede for a look at the EV landscape in Europe.
The latest data shows that over 20% of new car registrations in Europe were electric vehicles, more than 2 million in 1 year, with the likes of VW, Renault, Stellantis, Mercedes and Volvo all developing competitive models for this market. Bestsellers like the Fiat 500e, Volkswagen ID and Tesla's Model Y and 3 retail at upwards of $40,000. And the race has heated up, with competition for Tesla and Chinese car makers NIO and BYD, which see the bloc as a massive market for new factories in countries like Hungary and Norway. The longest-ranging EVs on sale in Europe this year will be able to travel over 350 miles in a single charge. This is important, as while France and the Netherlands boast a comprehensive charging network, the UK and Germany lag when it comes to that infrastructure. Now, some European countries have decided to pull the plug on EV subsidies. This adds some uncertainty to the year ahead and makes the development of a mass market model even more important to maintaining demand in Europe.
Tesla, being a pioneer and market leader in the EV industry, is well positioned to experience remarkable growth. In fact, the company's expanding global footprint plays a significant role in its projected growth. But while Tesla continues to expand production, there is a critical need to do so in a cost-effective way. Elon Musk once noted that the desire for people to own a Tesla is extremely high. However, the limiting factor is their ability to pay for a Tesla. So maybe lowering production costs is how Elon Musk plans to make Tesla cars affordable. Hey guys, welcome back to Tesla Tomorrow. The switch to electric cars is happening at a rather fast rate, and individuals as well as countries around the world are beginning to see the undeniable benefits of transitioning to clean energy. With Tesla leading the charge in the EV revolution, it's no surprise that its growth prospects are generating significant excitement in the investing community. So what happens when Tesla finally gets its production costs to the lowest level possible? It will be game-changing. Before we carry on though, if you like this type of content, hit that like button, subscribe and turn on post notifications to keep up to date on everything going on with Tesla. There's a few reasons why Tesla is able to keep lower costs. First up, gigafactories. Tesla's factories are like an entire city block dedicated to car production, and these massive factories are called gigafactories, and they bring everything under one roof, from stamping out metal parts to installing the final software. This streamlined approach cuts down on transportation costs and keeps things moving smoothly. Also, Tesla has mega castings. Think of a giant mold pouring molten metal to create larger car parts in one go. That's the magic of mega casting, and it's a big technique that Tesla has embraced. So instead of welding together numerous little parts, the automaker is simply reducing this process and reducing the complexity by saving time and money.
There's no other better device than an automobile.
Well, that's true, but is it going to be internal combustion engine? Is it going to be a hybrid? Is it going to be an EV? You know about the debate that's going on right now. EV market is slowing down in terms of the adoption rate here in the United States. Does that continue at least through the rest of this year? And several years, what do you see?
What I see is that to make the EV spark, you need to align a certain number of stars. You need, of course, clean energy. You need a very dense charging network that people can see so that they remove range anxiety. They need a great product with a very high range, right? Like the products we are bringing to the market, 500 miles of range. That should be enough. And you need affordability. And what is at stake right now is affordability. That's the major star that is right now not totally aligned with the three other ones, assuming that they would be, which is not
that the supply chain? Is that the main issue?
It's
raw materials?
It's design to cost, is the fact that we need to be using raw materials for the battery cells which are not scarce, because as long as they are scarce, there is a lot of potential inflation and volatility. Design to cost, raw materials which are not scarce, and we have to double the power density of the battery cells so that you can have a smaller battery with less weight and therefore less cost.
He's shaking his head over there.
No, it's a lot. You got a lot to do. You got a lot to do. You got to make it much more. You know, I don't need any more anxiety. You mentioned a couple of kinds of anxiety there. I don't need that layered onto my existing anxiety. You got to understand why consumers feel this way.
Sure.
You have.
They say less is more, and we often think that Tesla follows that philosophy to heart. The car company is constantly evaluating and refining its processes, aiming for fewer parts and more minimalistic approaches. And in the end, this will translate to easier assembly, low production costs, and even better reliability. Also, it's a learning process, not a one-time recipe. And Tesla isn't afraid to experiment and iterate. The car company is constantly analyzing its production process, looking for new ways to squeeze out inefficiencies and improve efficiency. This continuous improvement approach ensures that Tesla stays ahead of the curve and keeps costs down. We should also note that Tesla heavily relies on automation in its factories, with machines performing tasks like welding and painting with tireless precision. This not only reduces human error, but also frees up valuable manpower for other crucial areas. You see, the impact of these strategies is undeniable. Tesla's reportedly slashed its production costs by nearly 60% since 2017. And that is a staggering achievement. What does it all mean though? Well, it means there'll be more affordable EVs for consumers, making them a more accessible option for the masses. No doubt there are challenges involved, like ramping up production at such a large scale, which can be complex, and ensuring quality control remains paramount. However, we think Tesla is up to the task. The automaker is shaking up the traditional car manufacturing model, and its approach to cost reduction is definitely worth keeping an eye on. And who knows, maybe Tesla is just creating the future of electric cars one gigafactory at a time.
Let me ask you something, and I know Andrew's going to have an interest in this. Consolidation within the industry. You told me out there, it's coming at some point. When you look into the future, where is that? When does that happen?
It is going to be triggered by a very simple statement that everybody will understand. We have to find a way to sell BEVs at the price of ICEs. That's quite simple. To fix the affordability problem, we need to be finding a way to design to cost our products so that you sell BEVs at the price of ICEs. That is going to put extreme pressure on our companies, not only on the supply chain.
In other words, if you can't do it, you're not going to survive.
Somebody will. And the guys who are now ready to offer that in the world, not in the US, but in the world, are the Chinese. The Chinese are able.
So you think there's a merger to be done with the Chinese? Do you think that the U.S. government would ever allow that? The Europeans would ever allow that?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the guys now, the Chinese, have a 30% competitive edge on X-Works, on their BEVs. So they are able to sell their products with one segment gap, which means you sell a C-segment car at the price of a B-segment, which solves the problem of affordability. Now, what is going to be their stance?
And all these governments are putting tariffs on everything to prevent that.
Exactly, but that will generate inflation inside of the bubble.
Right.
If you do that, inflation inside of the bubble will make things worse rather than better. This country has seen the Japanese invasion in the 70s, then the Koreans. Are you going to see a third wave of Asians, which would be the Chinese? I don't know. I'm opening the question. But what I can tell you is that they are able to sell their BEVs at the price of ICEs. So we need to hurry up. We need to do our job, our homeworks, to make sure that we do the same thing. Of course, the governments can protect their companies with a golden share. That's absolutely obvious and absolutely fair. This being said, if we don't fix this for the consumer, recognizing that our mission is to deliver clean, safe, and affordable mobility, then we are vulnerable, and the Stellantis will not fall in that trap, I can tell you.
Carlos, we've only got about a minute left, but I wanted you to tell these guys what you told me outside. I said, look into the crystal ball and what do you see in terms of consolidation? And you gave me a number of major automakers that you think we're eventually headed towards. Tell these guys what you see, looking down the road. And I don't know if you outside, was that 10 years you're looking down the road?
Yes, I think that given this pressure on affordability, 10 years down the road, possibly in the planet there will be around 5 big car makers in the world, around 5. Stellantis will be one of them. I can tell you I'm very confident about what our people are doing. By the way, congratulations to them. But around 5, that's the number.
Make it more complicated. How many brands? Because one of the things that's so fascinating.
No, but if you take but look at this. If you look at major automakers, how many would you say we have legitimately major around the world right now? 15, 20?
Yeah, 15 to 20.
You could argue too that's too many.
So he's saying it gets down to 5. You pick the 5 that are going to survive. He says it's going to be Stellantis. Does Toyota survive? What happens to Honda? Does Honda not survive? Somebody takes Honda over at some point? What happens between GM and Ford? What happens with Volkswagen? Yeah. And BYD is in there.
Yeah, it's a mess.
I think it's an interesting prediction.
It's fascinating.
Tesla's definitely made waves by slashing production costs, but is that the end of the story? No, it isn't. You see, Tesla is like a car with an ever-upgrading engine, constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible. By doing so, that the automaker can then drive its most desired changes to sustainable energy. So, how can Tesla keep up this cost-cutting momentum? Let's take a look at some exciting possibilities. Up first, and possibly the most important one, is strategy. And that is how it's getting a hold of batteries. Batteries are at the heart of EVs, and right now they're a significant cost factor. Tesla's already working on in-house solutions to this, and they're aiming to bring more control over the processes and potentially drive costs down. So imagine the automaker becoming the battery masters and not just the car builders. Also, Tesla may want to find better sources for its materials. Every car is made of stuff, and Tesla's on a quest to find smarter ways to source those materials. This could involve things like exploring alternative materials, recycling existing ones more efficiently, and forging strategic partnerships with suppliers. Not only will this be a pretty big help for them, but it will also mean that Tesla is building a greener and more cost-efficient supply chain. AI could also be another route for Tesla to lower its production costs. Already, robots and heavy machines are playing a starring role in Tesla's factories, but the future might be even more sophisticated than it is right now. Imagine AI-powered robots that don't just weld and paint, but they can also handle complex tasks like assembly and quality control, and that could streamline the process even further. Likewise, Tesla might take things a step further by exploring more innovative and efficient ways to build cars. Remember the minimalist car design philosophy? Tesla could try to employ this strategy. Think of a constantly refining car using fewer parts, lighter materials, and smarter engineering solutions. And why not? Sometimes even less complexity could translate to potentially lower costs. And of course, we can't forget about the gigafactories. They're impressive, but how could they make things more efficient? What if they're made into larger and more optimized factories that leverage cost-cutting, cutting-edge technologies and production processes? These Gigafactories 2.0 could be a game changer in terms of scale and cost reduction. Tesla may also consider more collabs and partnerships. While the automaker is known for its independent spirit, collaboration can be a powerful tool. Partnerships with other companies or research institutions on areas like battery tech, sustainable materials, and even AI-powered manufacturing will not only help Tesla gain more dominance, but it could also lead to breakthroughs that benefit everyone.
Well, Tesla is looking to put more made-in-America batteries in its cars, but with the help of a Chinese manufacturer, according to a Bloomberg report. We have Yahoo Finance's very own Pras Subramanian to break this down for us. So, Pras, walk us through this development here.
Hey, Rachel. Yeah, so Bloomberg reporting that Tesla is kind of setting up this new battery factory or facility here with a twist, right? So it's going to be at their Giga Nevada factory near Reno. Basically, CATL, the Chinese battery maker, is going to supply them with machinery to make these batteries. And what will happen is Tesla will own the facility, they'll own the machinery, they'll employ all the workers and bear all the costs. And they're only CATL employees that'll be the ones that set up the machinery. So
in recent years, there's been a pretty significant surge in interest and demand for EVs worldwide. And this growing trend could be attributed to several key factors that have sparked a shift towards sustainable transportation. While governments around the globe are recognizing an urgent need to reduce carbon emissions, They're also implementing policies and incentives to encourage the adoption of electric vehicles. However, while these policies are helpful to Tesla, effective cost control is what's going to keep the automakers in business when these incentives go away. Overall, the road ahead for Tesla's cost-cutting journey is full of exciting possibilities. But by continuing to innovate, explore new technologies, and embrace smart partnerships, Tesla could pave the way for more affordable and accessible EVs. And who knows, maybe the automaker will inspire other car companies to join the cost-cutting revolution, making the future of transportation not just electric, but also more sustainable for everyone. But what do you think? Let us know down below, and don't forget to tell us your valuation of Tesla. And if you want to know more about what Tesla's been up to over the last few days, go ahead and click on this next video on your screen. See you there.